joining another episode of Not a Great Whisperer, where we interview ordinary people living extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Katy Rey, a fierce leader in the community, empowering you to own your story and embrace everything you are. I am joined with the magnificent Nurse Gone Rogue, Diana. Also only goes by her first name because she's basically like Cher.
Pretty much.
That's what we're doing today.
That's
what we're doing. Because I do adore nurses since my dad's been a nurse for like over 50 years. Tell me how you got into nursing.
Well, actually, it's funny because my oldest daughter just told me the other day that she wants to go into nursing,
Aww.
which I never thought was going to happen.
I love that.
So 4 out of 6 of us siblings are nurses. I'm the oldest daughter of 6 kids. Have an older brother. And but all I knew I wanted to do was to help people. I really didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have a direction. And our local, I was raised in Hot Springs, Arkansas, so our local community college had a really great nursing program. And I was like, well, I'll just do that and I'll just be a teacher. And my dad was like, why don't you go to physical therapy? And I said, no, I can just be a teacher. Little did I know I would just like fall in love with the diversity and the just career that you can build out of nursing. Like it's helped me in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you're just so intelligent with healthcare, such an ongoing changes and
so
research.
dynamic.
And I feel like that's totally your jam. After knowing you for a short amount of time, just because all the questions you ask and like how you like dig into the very core of what's happening, you're just like, damn, it's a lot of questions, but it's very smart. Okay, I'll answer
that's like
this
the
today.
critical care
But
side.
why are you a nurse gone rogue though?
I noticed a lot of deficiencies and issues with the corporate healthcare system. I'd seen a lot of broken hearts, broken bodies, and started to realize that we're literally pushing like sodium bicarbonate in the veins or just like pretty much sugar water in the veins to correct people's chemistry, which could really be done on a more prophylactic way, like ongoing throughout your life, if you would just understand a little bit more about your biochemistry and how your body works. Everyone's so different, and so that's why I got into just the lab analysis. Like I fell in love with all that stuff. I did it in critical care, but that was more of like people are literally in a critical state with their body, and we're trying to correct it so that they can just start healing. Well, I love now looking at it while we're healthy. We appear healthy, but on the inside, like we could be in shambles.
Damn.
So
That was like a lot. And now I'm like, whatever you say, I'll do it. Tell me why you're I think you're a little bit like a serial entrepreneur though.
I am. Some people call me a business mogul. But I feel like that sounds so manly and I'm so feminine. Like,
So maybe we'll change the word here today. But as a serial entrepreneur, what do you enjoy about starting businesses? And bring up your nonprofit as well.
yeah, absolutely. So I love being a healthcare serial entrepreneur because I feel like there's not enough of that out there. A lot of people will flock to corporate healthcare and then they'll go and they'll go and they'll go and they'll waste ER visits and they'll get frustrated with doctors and then they'll call me and they'll be like, Diana, I don't know what's going on. Everyone says I'm normal, but I feel like I'm falling apart. So I really want to continue creating community-based centers where we can help people with their healthcare needs and also be able to create jobs. You talked about my nonprofit.
Yeah.
I love creating trauma-informed jobs. We have a nonprofit called The Blind Investment, and we specifically are geared towards domestic violence survivors with children that need entry-level employment and transitional housing. So we work on specifically stabilizing families for 12 to up to 18 months, and we can take them from zero work experience, get them on the job training, and take them all the way to business ownership if they stay with us long enough and just participate.
As a single mama of 5, how hard is it for you to slow down for yourself and realize, because of your work ethic, I think growing up, right? Like how do you give yourself grace to like rest? Because we never really saw women resting.
My gosh. I literally took Tuesday. I don't know if I told you this, but I took Tuesday. I was in my PJs all day in my bed with my 6-year-old watching every Home Alone known to mankind. I didn't
Creating
feel great,
anxiety
but
that he might be left alone. Because if you really look at that movie, it creates
he chose it. It kind of took me
Christmas.
back.
It's
I was like,
Christmas.
what? And it was kind of cold
I
here.
love it. But how did mentally did you have to talk yourself out of you are doing what you need to do? Because I feel like we always have that, like, you're not being productive, but your body needs rest.
Well, here's the thing. There's the book, The Body Keeps Score, and I know that's a controversial author because there have been some things that have come out about him, but it's so true. The science behind it is so true. So in my journey, until I was 31, which is when I left my, at the time, relationship, long-term relationship, and I just didn't realize how much my body was keeping score. It's been 4.5 years now. And the days, like the day that I took on Tuesday or the days that I would take in a row during the pandemic, have become more and more, like, more few and far between, but they still happen. So thank goodness, like, I was able to, well, your body puts you in timeout. Like, I think anybody can see that, like, as a high functioning entrepreneur or just parent that's like always go. At some point, your body caves and it's like, nope, you're going to slip a disc, you're going to pull a hammy, or you have this head cold that no one else has, but you have it and you have to be in bed because you get dizzy if you get out. Or you have like, I never even knew that I was a nurse and I didn't even know that BPPV existed, which is benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, which means that the rocks inside of your inner ear, if you turn your head, the whole room spins. And that's actually stress-induced. And you can fix that by a simple maneuver called the Epley maneuver. But the common folk, even like me as a registered nurse, I didn't know about that. And I didn't know it was stress-induced. Now, like, as my kids are continuing to heal and go through their healing journey, like, my oldest daughter had it at one point. She was like, Mom, I feel like this. And I had her do that. And now she knows
when it happens, what to do.
Right. And how much beauty is there in being more and more in tune with your body to understand, okay, this is what's going on and this is what I can do, which does not require a doctor, does not require a hospital, does not require medicine. I can just fix it. And now I know how to, like, nurse my way through those moments because no one knows your body better than you.
No. And do you notice yourself just from where with trauma and everything for you, like noticing you take on patients differently and ask different questions now?
Absolutely.
Like, isn't that horrible and cool at the same time because of the trauma you had to endure? But like also you're just so much more informed for people instead of being like, here's a pill. You're like, wait, let's see this as
let's get down to the root cause. There's like a, I'm sure your dad has probably heard of this, like sentinel events and root cause analysis. When something bad happens in a corporate healthcare situation, as a team, you are taught to get down to the root of the cause of what happened and how can we avoid that from happening again. Now, they look at it from a liability standpoint. I look at it from more of a somatic point.
Necessary.
Right? So, like, this is a somatic exercise that we can realize, okay, I'm having dizziness. I'm having low blood sugar spells at this time of day. What's going on? What's the trend? What's actually causing it? So I can go down to the root, uproot that, and plant some new habits or new seeds that'll spring new life in.
Yeah. And I mean, now your kids get to see, I mean, how old's your daughter?
She's 15.
How cool. I mean, that has to make you feel like that smidge, like that's all, because she sees you in it all day and you're so passionate about it.
Part of it is just so triggering though, because I think about how I was when I was 15 and how I was when I was 17, which is the age I was when I got married. And I'm like, I question myself.
You.
I know.
It's a different,
See, you already took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, it's a total different environment.
You're like cutting me right
here. Don't bring it up. You're done.
Because I'm like, is the cycle repeating or am I breaking it effectively?
You knew the only way to get out was that she has the environment where it's actually nurturing her research. I mean, she probably wants to research. I mean, you are definitely a researcher.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just like, here's this, it'll fix it. You're like, no, let's talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let me ask you 40 questions real quick, and I'll tell you
and
after.
I'll give you an 80-page report.
I'll print it out in a minute. So tell me about the culture you come from.
I come from a Romanian background, ultra conservative, traditional, grew up Pentecostal. So we didn't look like it on the outside. You know, we were at school, we were wearing jeans. We weren't like the American Pentecostals that always had to wear dresses and skirts and really long hair. But when we were in church, we wore head coverings because that's a sign of humility and obedience to the male population.
Oh,
I see you gasping.
I'm like, no, why? And I knows you as a child.
It all went downhill from there.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
I love my family. I love so many things about my culture. Yeah. Like I've gone back to my roots. I actually lived in Romania for a year on sabbatical with the kids after we sold the first startup from 2018 to 2019.
That was probably great for them.
It was wonderful. Like it's just a different world. Yeah. So we got to reconnect, and I felt like I got to reconnect with like my true Romanian roots from a cultural, historical, ancestral type of way versus the conservatism. Is that how you say it? Conservatorism?
Conservatorism, I think.
The conservatorism that is...
Fact checks? Do we have any fact checks here? I'm just kidding.
It doesn't even matter. Everybody knows what we're talking about. Like, honestly, it's just the notion of like whenever, and I know that this is true amongst all immigrants. For now, like all immigrants that I have met that are kind of hybrid, like we have parents that came from a different country with different cultures and norms, and they really want to conserve and preserve those norms. Yeah. So what happens is, for example, our family came when it was still communist Romania, like 1980s. So anybody that comes from Romania at this point that's never been exposed to the Romanian church in America, they look and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are literally like stuck back in the 1980s because they got so locked into that. And they were like, no, we need to preserve our culture, our traditions, all of these things. And it's just layer on top of layer on top of layer of man-made rules, basically. And so we weren't able to fraternize with the American kids. We weren't able to have friends outside of school. They would use the system and send us to public school, but we really couldn't integrate. Like people didn't really understand us. So you fell in between cultures. Yeah. And that's a very common theme for a lot of other immigrants that I've met with and spoken with and connected with.
That's crazy to me. Just like, see, because I'm visual. So I'm like, and I'm also imagining you in a church with the head. But I also, how often do you get like a negative tone when you're like, I'm a single mother of 5? Because don't you feel like some people are like, again, if I didn't have to do IVF, I probably would have much more children. But I'm not going through all the pain of that all the time. But and it's like once you hit like a threshold, I had a friend of mine be like, one of the most negative labels people say is like, oh, 5. Like,
kind of like irresponsible. Well, imagine being in Washington State where it's actually considered irresponsible to even have children.
A child.
Like any children, first of all, and to look at me and to see 5, like I've had people in Washington State make comments to the effect of like, couldn't figure out what caused that. You know, and I even had, which I'd like to share this, I even had a really close friend of mine that actually knew my story and at one point was like, well, you kind of a backhanded comment somewhere along the lines of like, well, you chose to have that many. And I was like, you can't just throw those kinds of comments because in my background, like as a child, as a little girl, I was taught you have as many kids as God gives you. You never, ever get an abortion or say no to your husband. Like that's like, no, your body's not yours. It's your husband's. And you are there until death do you part, period. And it is like, there's actually a verse in the Bible that they take and they've extrapolated that actually says something to the effect of, you will earn your salvation by bearing of children. So you could see how a lot of Romanian families have like 10. I mean, I know of a family in Michigan that has 25 kids. Okay. One biological husband and wife. So you ask how much of a connotation, like, do people say that it's cool because in front of your face, they don't want to be like, oh my gosh, baby barf. Yeah. I can't believe that you've had that many children. You know, yeah, they'll say it's cool, but I'm still single after almost 5 years. Like, obviously, it's a deterrent. It's a filter.
I love that you own it, though.
Yeah.
And any, like, atmosphere, too. Because, like, what inspires you every day, I think you showing your kids what you didn't get to see is, I think, just from knowing you.
Absolutely.
Because I feel it. Because I'm like, hell yeah. Like, hell yeah. But for me, as another mom, I'm like, I don't know why we judge you have no idea that story. And you being a domestic violence survivor, like, get out of here. And helping women in that position now, like, you're doing exactly what
I wish I would have had done for me.
Exactly.
I'm being the person that I wish I would have had.
To look at, to look up to.
Not even to look up to talk to ask questions of, to help me.
Yeah.
Like to be able to give someone a place to land so that their nervous system can calm down and they can get out of the fog and their kids are safe and they can really start looking and analyzing at what cycle they went through and what kind of a mind fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just
we're
going to say
explicit,
it.
so you're fine.
What kind of a
Please.
mind fuck like that person has gone through or you have gone through as a person because of, the cultural norms or whatever family has told you or like the word curses that you grew up with or whatnot. Like those are some of the most important things that someone needs to be able to process and like sit with in safety. And a lot of times as a survivor, first of all, you have to plan your exit. Like it's not like a normal divorce where you're like, hey, amicably. I think we should part ways. Yeah. Like you want the kids Thursday to Tuesday and I'll take them like Wednesday to Tuesday or whatever. Like
then that person's control's gone. So that's
I want to go. I want to go to the Maldives with my new boyfriend. Can you take care of the kids for me? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sounding really bitchy right now, but it's just like, don't look at me. Like, don't look at me. I have my kids 80% of the time. Like, I did not choose the high road because it was easy. I chose the high road because my kids deserve to see what it means to live a happy life.
Honor yourself.
And to honor myself and to be able to see that, my 8-year-old son, that was like one of the greatest moments. Like it's etched into my brain forever. When my oldest son was 8 years old and we were homeschooling in Romania and I had just had a verbal altercation with my, at the time, husband, his father. And he looked down and then something happened and he spoke to our oldest daughter as well. My 8-year-old son, who's the oldest son, but younger than my oldest daughter, looked down at his paper and left a hefty sigh and was like, I'm just glad I wasn't born a girl. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like, this is not the legacy I'm leaving on the planet. No. If something's got to change, and it's got to change now.
And
this is not going to happen.
I'm the only one who can do this now.
Yeah.
So all your little wheels were turning, strategically moving everything.
Yeah. I stayed for them. Now I have to leave for them. This is done. What are my next steps?
Well, yeah. And you're showing people that think the impossible is possible now.
Absolutely. That's why I live so out loud.
Yeah.
Like, they need to know that, a lot of people know me as like the successful business mogul and whatnot. Like, it was really hard making the first million. Made the first million by 29, right? Had my 5th kid. But that wasn't easy. Like, my health really took the brunt of the storm. And I'm not just talking my body health, like mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, all the things, right? I'm rewriting literally as I live and heal and parent our children. I'm rewriting like who I really want to be for the rest of my life. And that might change in the next
Every
15
season.
years again, because then I won't have kids.
But
in
at
the
your
house.
core, you'll be that person.
Exactly. And I also, the thing is, I went back to like who I've always been and not been allowed to be as a child. And granted, I had to go through all of the missed psychology from 17 to 31, the life I missed out on suppressing myself and living the way everyone else wanted me to live, whether it was my culture, my family, my husband at the time, their family, all of these people that speak into like what you should be, that good girl syndrome. And now I'm just like, you know what, fuck off. Like, you don't pay my bills. You don't wipe my ass, and you don't take care of my kids when they're sick, and you sure as hell don't take care of me when I'm sick. My kids actually do at this point. Like, so no one gets to dictate the terms and conditions of my life. And we should all really embody that CEO mentality. I am the CEO of my life. I get to hire, fire, promote, and, expand whatever individuals actually speak life into me and bring forth even more of who I am and amplify that.
Well, I love your live out loud and just kind of own your own shit vibe. I know some people might be intimidated. That's just my jam.
Of course you do.
I know some people might be intimidated, but what do you want people to know about you? Who are you finding in this journey?
Ooh.
Deep. I got deep right
Oh God, you cut so deep. Damn. Oh, I'm coming undone. I'm unraveling everything and everyone that is Diana, and I'm learning to embrace the superpower, remember when I told you I'm a whole lot of woman?
Yeah.
Choke bitch. Like I'm in that phase of life. Like I'm really like, I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm so
we're gonna
there
knit
and
a
I
pillow
love
that
it.
says
And, you know, like even business was a big trauma for me to get back into. Like I really just wanted to go back to clock in, clock out and have a very simple life. And then I thought about all the people that I could help. And then I was just like, literally recently, the past 2 weeks, I had the discovery of like, oh, business is my like life partner. Yeah.
And
like
you're good at it.
I'm single. Business is my caregiver. It's my life partner. It's my lover. Like business takes care of me. Business pays for my manicures, my massages, my shoes, my clothes, my kids, my house, like my food.
Yeah, you respected it again.
Yeah, like now I've reframed my relationship with business, which I think a lot of people are going to need to go through that journey because, you know, we've all been traumatized in many ways in corporate work, you know, by narcissistic CEOs or in being in business and completely using and abusing ourselves to like get to that, you know, certain level of success that we want.
Yeah, and it's finding the fulfillment. I love that you said you're unraveling. That's super cool. Again, I'm a visual, so I saw you in a present, and you were just going out of a bow.
I'm Marilyn Monroe coming out of that birthday cake.
That's what I saw. Thank you.
Yeah.
And your awesome red dress. So it was perfect. Where can we find you?
I have a starter website, nursegonerogue.com, where you can book a Calendly link. And I also have an Instagram page, which I think you're very familiar with, where I do my therapeutic reels.
Love it. I always love the audio you have on everyone.
Right.
I love it.
I just steal stuff.
Sometimes, I love it though.
I'm gonna start speaking at some point, but you know, I do have a podcast for any kind of survivors that just need to hear a little bit about my journey and the story and kind of start getting their wheels turning. I will say I have a podcast. I've paused it for a while. I think I'll start recording soon, called Stories from a Survivor on Spotify and Apple iTunes.
With Kyle.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I need to start one, Nurse Gone Rogue, like literally Nurse Gone Rogue. Just talk about health and all things health because that's like a major thing that people need to hear about. You can't
find her anywhere else because if you just Google Diana, there's a lot of them out there. But you can find her on Nurse Gone Rogue.
Exactly.
But you can also find Diana on Not a Great Whisperer podcast, KatyRey.com and at The Real Cray Cray. On IG, slip into my DMs. But you are amazing. I love everything you're doing. I hope as you unravel, you just fucking remember how amazing you are and honor yourself along the way. And I am jealous of your kids to be able to see what a badass mama they have. So thanks for joining.
Takes one to know one. Takes one to know one.
Thank you for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you.